Moving on for now, our other top focus tonight is about an unlikely alliance. An alliance between the Chinese Communist Party, the Italian mafia, and Russian oligarchs. You heard me right. The Chinese establishment, in cahoots with the Italian mafia and sanctioned oligarchs from Russia, has for years been running an extensive money laundering network. A network that involves underground banks, secret agents, brokers, and billions of dollars worth of dirty money. It runs from the offices of the Communist Party in Beijing to the many secret hideouts of criminal syndicates in Italy. And this secret network has now been busted. According to reports, the Italian tax police, or Guardia di Finanza, has blown the lid off this nexus through a secret investigation, an investigation that they called, ironically enough, Operation Silk Road. Let me just break down the most telling discoveries from this investigation. Number one, Chinese officials are secretly running what they describe as underground banks in Italy. Underground banks. Number two, these banks help Chinese citizens living in Italy send money back to the mainland through third parties. And number three, these third parties operate in Eastern Europe, mostly in countries where Chinese influence is strong. And number four, from these countries, this money is sent to China or sent to Chinese banks directly. And number five, this helps Chinese citizens living in Italy evade paying taxes, VAT, or Social Security. And that's not even all. These banks are also used by criminals, dishonest business persons, and the Italian mafia. Let me tell you more. Instead of paying directly to their clients, like drug suppliers, they use these banks to send money to China. And from China, this money is then transferred to drug barons in Colombia, who supply cocaine and other drugs to their Italian associates. And that's not even all. These banks are also used by Russian oligarchs, especially those close to Vladimir Putin, who have been sanctioned by the West. Since they cannot legally export money from Russia to Italy or from Italy to Russia, they are using these banks to funnel money to other European countries. I know some of these details may be a little complicated to wrap your head around, so let me just put this very simply for you. China is running a Hawala network in Italy, a network that involves the use of brokers to facilitate illegal transfer of money. And this operation was one of the largest in Italian history. It has been underway for over 6 years. 6 years of tracing these banks and catching the brokers. Some of these arrests even made headlines. Turns out they were all linked to this operation. Take this one, for instance. It's from January 2020. This is when police at Rome's Fiumicino airport confiscated 3 million euros from 2 Chinese businessmen. These businessmen were attempting to return to China, but they were nabbed. And in August 2022, the tax police arrested an architect, a man who had designed a luxury estate for the Russian president. He was accused of breaking Italy's tax rules and trying to launder $144 million. Turns out he was working for China's underground banks to help Russian oligarchs. And the very next month, in September 2022, at least 22 people were arrested in the Italian city of Brescia. They were accused of tax evasion and money laundering. And now it turns out this money was being laundered to China. And why just Italy? On the 4th of August last year, Britain's National Crime Agency arrested a 33-year-old Chinese national. He was suspected of being part of an underground Chinese banking network. And now we know which network the report mentioned. These were just 4 instances, and there are many more arrests in many more countries. but you get the whole point. China's underground banks are helping criminals and its own nationals living abroad evade the law. Just have a look at these figures. According to the Italian tax police, lawful transfers of money from Chinese residents in Italy back to China have declined drastically. In 2017, these transfers stood at 5 billion euros, and by 2021, they had decreased to just 9 million euros. Courtesy China's underground banks. All said and done, the big question is, who operates these banks? Are they Chinese citizens or Chinese politicians? Well, if we go by the investigation, it seems this entire operation is running with the blessings of the CCP. Because the investigators, you see, have traced the money trail to a pool of banks led by the Bank of China, the fourth largest bank in the world, which is strongly in the hands of the CCP. So those responsible for running these underground banks are by all means from the Chinese Communist Party. The question is, will this expose have any bearing on Europe's ties with China? That is a question the people of Europe must ask their leaders. We are now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.